Hello, everybody. Alright, I'm coming in good. I'm good. I feel good. I took a nap. Which is probably why Streme is so late. But you know what? The important thing is that we're doing it. So, I'm trying to remember what we did last time we did animation-y stuff. And we did a walk cycle last time. And this is kind of how it turned out. And if we put our grid down... No, that's not the grid. Where's the grid? There we go. Well, that's one of them, I should say. But if we put the grid down... We can kind of see how it turned out. Like, is it the most perfect thing in the world? Nah. But for a start, we did it. And so now the next most logical thing to draw is somebody getting hit with a brick. Because I just woke up and decided to choose violence today. So far the other the other practices we did, so we did the walk cycle. We have this little some of these I gotta like extend them a bit, but we did this little giggle. I hate drawing necks for whatever reason. I gotta get over that. We did the universe sneezing dark matter. This is actually one of my favorites. We did a character's jump over a chasm. It's not a very, like, deep chasm, but, you know. And then we did a character taking a deep breath. I loved this little, I think it's a magpie from K-pop Demon Hunters. I think her name is Susie or Sussy. We did a character's change in emotion. And then we did a tree fall. Cycle. Also, apparently I didn't color him all the way through, so whoops. Oh well, you know what? It's fine. It'll be okay. Character getting hit. Getting hit. Animation. Peace. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do what I do best, which is wing it. So we're gonna start with a simple little guy, with a simple little dude. Hmm. Actually, what if it's like... So, if we put our grid on... This is life now. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the directional arcs. Okay, so this we're gonna need 2 different parts. Come on, squish. Squish. So we're gonna need a character folder just for them, and then we're gonna need another folder for this, like, arc movement of the ball. Guys. Okay, there we go. There are our guys. Our little guys. And then that's another little contact point. Okay. Actually, why don't we make this a bit smaller? Or, I mean, I could get smaller to show that... I'll leave it as is for now. And then if I need to make adjustments to it, I can just go back and remake all the adjustments. So it was funny earlier. So I went to go post that I was gonna be live for Strum tonight. You know, granted a bit late, but eh. But, in any case, so I was posting that I was gonna be live for Strem, and, I have a friend who, I try to repost, like, when my friends post stuff on places like Twitch and, or not Twitch, but, like, X and, Blue Sky. And one of my friends posted something with an image, and I looked at the image and I immediately clocked it as AI, right? Now, AI is definitely, like, AI art especially is one of those very, like, complicated, like, things. So like, I mean, I don't know. Me personally, I don't use it. I know, or I try not to anyway. I may experiment around with it for, like, personal stuff, but anyways, so that aside, I thought about it, and I was staring at it, and so I sent her a message, and I was like, hey, you know that image that you used for your post? You know that's AI, right? And she was like, what? And she's like, no way, how can you tell? And I'm like, I pointed out, like, all these different things, and I'm like, not to be, like, that person. And she's like, no, oh my god, like, thank you so much. And I was like, you're welcome. But yeah, she was like, no, I went to Google and I just searched an image that I thought would look good for my, like, announcement. Cause she's got several like really cool events lined up for the con circuit next year, or the convention circuit. And I was like, well, you know, on Google, there's this thing that you can do, where if you just hit, where you type in like your image search and then you do minus AI, and then it gets rid of all the like AI stuff. And she was like, really? That's a thing? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. I remember seeing it was a thing. And, she was like, oh my god, that's so cool. How did you know that? And I'm like, I actually, like, looked that up from, like, somebody else. So, yeah. One. looks kind of cool. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get it all to fit in this, like, one little section. I mean, I can always extend it if I want to, but... I'm also experimenting with pacing and, like, doing animation on 1s and 2s for, like, easing in and out. How that looks though, like how the ball gets smaller as it like goes back into perspective. I mean, I know it's not really like ball shaped, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna call it a ball. Okay, and now let's go down to our guys. So, a fun little fact about characters is that characters blink every, well, like, it's humans and characters, but if you want to make your animations feel more alive and you do character animations, like, your characters have to blink every 3 seconds, I believe, to feel alive, because that's what humans do. Humans blink every 3 seconds. And, in animation, that's like a lot of frames, so... Just fun little FYI for you. Higwardy animation cuteness. Yeah, I decided to do, for tonight's prompt, it's, have a guy get hit with something simple. How you doing tonight? Saturday night doodling. I spent the afternoon talking with my niece all about art. It's been an inspiring night. That's awesome. I'm in the kitchen preparing a little midnight, a little late snack. Might even pour myself a drink. Do what you want. You a grown man, adult person. why am I getting a hit? Oh, why is it so cute? Haha, I'm loving it so far. I'm glad. Alright, fine, I'm hydrating. Ow! I got hit with soda. Hold on, I'm gonna add his friend back in. I just want to focus on the, like, sort of tense up in fall. I forget where I saw it, but somebody said an unhinged way to get, like, better at drawing, like, super quickly is to, is to be an animator instead of an illustrator. And like, if you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because like, as a as an animator, you're having to draw like a lot of things from different angles and different places and simulate like camera movements and that kind of stuff. And yeah. I also saw this really cool meme earlier that was like, you know, make it exist first and then make it better later. I thought that was really inspiring. Very true. I have the problem of never starting a project, and some have the trouble of not finishing the project. Well, a lot of times it's fighting that need for, like, perfectionism, you know? Like, if in your head, right? So like, we'll say thought cloud, right? So like in your head, you have this thing where like, it's all like super I don't know. Super realistically, like, detailed, right? So, like, this is like what you think in your head that you want the drawing to come out as, but then, like, in reality, right, like, when you go to draw it on paper, because, like, your art ability is not here yet, right? Like, this is what we imagine, but we're not there yet. So when we actually do it on paper, and it turns out something like, I don't know, like this, right? So, like, what's in your head doesn't equal what you can do on, like, paper. And that can be really challenging because in order to get here, you gotta get through this first, right? Like, you gotta make, what is it? Like, you gotta be okay and comfortable with making, you know, like, bad art. You know, before you can get to the, like, hyper-realistic stuff. And that's something that I struggle with. Oop. Like, I know in my head what I want things to look like, but because my art ability isn't there for it, and I'm still trying to, like, tailor my own style, like, it just... It's that weird sense of, like, frustration and then procrastination and avoidance because it's like, well, I'm not there yet, and, you know, I'll wait until I get there. Which is, you know, the struggle is real, right? Because in any other thing that you do, like sports, cooking, the response... So, like... Hold on. Where? I probably put down too many layers. Yeah, I did. Okay. So, like... When you cook, right? When you make a dish... Right? We'll say pasta. When you make pasta... And this is very bad, like, pasta. So... The first time you make pasta, right? You know, maybe the noodles are stiff in some places... and, like, squiggly in others. Right? Like, it's not cooked all the way, but it's not mush. Or maybe, like, the first time you make pasta and you do it for too long and it's all, like, one big gloppy mush. Like, this was me when I made mac and cheese. For, like, the first few times. So, like, the first few times I made mac and cheese, I let it sit, like, way too long in the water. Even with directions. But the point is that when you learn how to cook, and when you learn how to cook well, you have to get through the experimental phase where, like, yeah, sometimes it comes out as mush, sometimes it comes out as more like noodle, like, cheese soup. I'm not really representing this all that well. Or then, like, sometimes you have those really, like, crunch shells where the shells weren't, like, boiled all the way. But, like, the idea is that the longer you start, or rather the more you make this recipe and the more you try out, like, okay, well, maybe I overboiled. What happens if I underboil? Or what happens if instead of, you know, being on a pot, I do it in, like, I don't know, a crock pot. Right? Like, you experiment to see how you can make this, you know, the golden star, like, plate that everybody at the potluck, you know, raves about, right? We'll put a meatball, because why not? Yeah, so essentially the process is, you know, you go from starting out like this to getting the thing, right? It's really good and everybody loves it and everybody rants and raves about it. God, this is gonna be a jumbled mess. But anyway, and this is the same for athleticism too, right? So like athletes, what they'll do is, I don't know, we'll say here's a thing, and you know, they you know, run and tackle it, right? And so like maybe the first time they do this, you know, the form's not correct, like maybe their knees are bent at like the wrong angle, or their arms aren't like positioned well or what have you. So then coach comes up and it's like, okay, well, you know, you need to fix this, that, and what have you. And so then the next time they do it, you know, they full body shouldered it, they arch their back better, you know, their legs one stick straight out. Like, I promise I have a reason. I'm getting to a point. But anyways, but the point being is that it's the repetition of practice, and it's the repetition of like trial and error. And you get better, right? So like when you cook, you can actually taste that, you know, your dishes are more tasty. When you exercise, you see, you know, better form. You're not as like sore or whatever. But when it comes to like art, and those are not like perfect things, right? Like, unless you're aspiring to do like, you know, Gordon Ramsay level chefing, right? Be, you know, on TV and what have you, right? So unless you're aspiring to this, whatever you like do to improve, you're just kind of like, you know what? It's good enough for me and plenty of people like it. So, you know, this is fine. This is fine as is. Where it's good to eat, it's tasty, what have you. Or like in your forms, right? Like your coach may be happy that, you know, your forms, while they may not be perfect, they still get like the job done and you're not like injuring yourself, right? Full body, like stretch out one leg, do that. I know with like forms with like athletes and stuff, like especially in training and stretches, like they do have to like be a bit more like perfect in their forms, because if they're not, then you know you get like torn muscles and stuff like that. So but the point being is that when you do these enough times, like things like they become instinctive and you're not as like worried about them. And again, if you're not aspiring to be like, you know, professional TV chef level where Gordon Ramsay calls you an idiot sandwich or whatnot, then like whenever you decide, okay, I'm done experimenting with this recipe and I'm gonna go experiment with something else, whatever you have so far is fine, right? Now, in art, this is where that mentality kind of like gets thrown out the window, so to speak. Like, and the thing of it is it's not just an art thing. Like, most people can attribute it to art, but it's any sort of like creative endeavor, right? So like, there's also sewing, crochet, like basically any kind of like craft or art or like thing, right? So the idea is that these things, when you start out, or as you're like learning and you're gaining more skills and knowledge, right? Instead of you finding that, oh, you know, like, this is okay or good for now, right? So like, we'll go back to the eye example. So like, say like, the eye example, when you draw it, you draw something akin to like, this is a real world example. So like, you have the eyelid, the eyelashes, right? And then you do the iris, and then you do that little like kind of glare thing where it's like that, and you're like, boom, okay, so this is like my current ability to draw like an eye, right? But it kind of looks a bit wonky, like, you know, maybe the iris is too big, there's not enough detail for like the lid and what have you. Okay, but like for whatever your current ability is, this is fine. Hold on, I'm trying to erase. I'm trying to talk and erase and teach. So yeah, so okay, so like if this is your current ability, right? Or let's say we'll go something like this, where like the best you can do for an eye is maybe, I don't know, something like that, and with lashes, right? Like say this is the best you can do, right? And for artists, instead of being like, okay, well, you know, this is the best I can do for now, and we're gonna rock this for a while until, you know, maybe we level up and watch, you know, like a few more tutorials or practice a bit more or what have you. But like, the mentality with anything that's like this, like super creative, is, well, it's not the like what I have in my head. It's not the perfection that I see, you know, other people do or draw. You know, we'll put the little star back in, because why not? Why not take a crazy chance? God, I hope I'm coming across coherent, because I keep like trying to explain it in my head. Okay. So this is like, we'll say for example, this is like the epitome you're shooting for. So like, you're here, but you're not here yet. And so a lot of times with artists, and I say this as an artist myself, and these are the thought like mentalities that I pitfall into. This is not like every artist specifically. Some artists, you know, they don't do this, but this is like the common thing that you see with art a lot, at least in my experience. But anyways, but because whatever your current ability is doesn't look like what you have in your head, there's this idea that instead of practice, or like, not instead of practice, but like, the idea is to be like, okay, let's wait, TM. So we'll wait. We'll wait, TM, until we get... That's way too many things. Wait, TM, until get better. Right? Okay, so when you wait until you get better, right, you sort of fall in this trap where it's this constant loop of, okay, I need to do, like, practice. Right? So then you practice, and then you decide, okay, after enough practice, you're gonna draw the thing. You know, the thing that you always want to draw, right? And so you start, and it's looking good, and then, you know, you find that maybe there are some things that, like, could probably be a little bit better, or, you know, you get, like, critiqued, right? And critique is kind of scary, because people are like, oh, well, you know, this is wrong, that's wrong, you know, it looks like this, it looks like that. Like, I've wanted to wring Skittles' neck, like, a couple of times for critiques. Not just Skittles, though, but, like, I've had other friends that are like, well, you know, this looks like that, and this looks like this, and, you know, when I mean, how do I explain it? When I was younger, like, it felt like a personal affront, like, especially when I started doing eyes with, like, the super tiny iris and then the little, like... So, like, I used to draw eyes like this, where it was like that, and then I would do the little, like, thing, the little, like, glare thing, right? Like that. And that's how I would draw eyes. And a friend once was like, oh, well, you know, they look like laser eyes. You know, like, people don't have eyes like that. And ever since they told me that, like, I literally stopped drawing for, like, I want to say, like, well, those kinds of eyes. I stopped drawing those kinds of eyes for, like, 3 months, I think. Which is not which, by the way, that's not a healthy response. That's not the response you should have. But, you know, when you're young and you're dumb, and you take a lot of things personally, that kind of happens. But anyway, side note, so then you draw the project you want to draw, you post it, you get critique, and critique comes from people who genuinely, like, care about you and want you to succeed, and people that are just like, well, you suck to suck, skill issue. And, you know, we don't have to, like, we can pretend those people don't exist. But in any case, and so then you have one of two paths, right? So path one is you go back to practice, right? You go back to practice and you start over again, where you do the practice and then you do the project you want and then you get critique and then you go back. Or path number 2 is you bed rot, which is kind of the response I do. You bed rot and you procrastinate on all the things that you don't want to work on. Right? And then over a period of time, right, of procrastinating, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm not doing anything, I'm not moving forward, and I'm not getting better because I'm not practicing the things I need to practice. So then, when you finally have, like, shamed yourself enough to actually practice, you start to practice and you're like, okay, I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna get better. And then when I get better, when I get better, Thim, you know what, it's Thim now, then I'll do the projects I want to do, because then they'll be perfect and I'll be great and everything will be happy. But the thing with getting better is it's that, like, again, it's that ever downward, like, spiral of, well, you know, even if you see, like, massive improvement from, like, say this is what you drew, you know, like, 2 months ago, and now you've improved to be able to do something like that, right? So in 2 months, you did get better, but it's still not better, you know? Like, it just seems to be that if you don't nail it the first time, or if you don't nail it well the first time when you do a creative, like, project or craft or what have you, the response comes from a place of, you know, embarrassment or shame that you didn't nail it, and so then you don't want to go back to it because, you know, you don't want to get, like, how do I describe it? Yeah, if at first you don't succeed, give up and never go back to it ever again, right? Like, that's kind of like the motto. Whereas in anything else you do in your life, it's the opposite, where if at first you don't succeed, you know, you need, like, the idea is to then, instead of give up, try something different. And I think when you're first learning how to cook, like, if you think about it, cooking's a necessity, right? Like, you need to eat. So you're more willing to experiment and to get better at cooking because, you know, otherwise you go hungry or you're gonna go broke trying to order out all the time. And that's not to say that they don't have, like, pre-made box meals that you can make either, but, like, eventually, eventually those, like, there's only so much those can, like, fulfill you. And even if you're, you know, even if you're like, well, you know, I can survive on microwave and box meals, you know, for, like, my whole life. Like, you can. No one's saying you can't. But, like, you can also recognize that, you know, when you do get a chance to have something that's home cooked, like, that makes you feel so much better than eating out of, like, TV trays and stuff like that. You know? And I think with art and any sort of, like, craft thing, like, for those that struggle with it a lot, and this is me included, Elgorflon should become a femboy VTuber. Why a femboy? I mean, no hate. Love the femmes, but the point being is that, you know, when cooking, you know, even if you don't necessarily cook for somebody else, like, there's room to improve and fail and maybe not get it right the first time. And it's okay because it only affects you. But when you do, you know, stuff like this, like art, where you're putting yourself out there and you're wanting to, like, share, you know, like, the stuff you do, like, you kind of go from, like, a small puddle to, like, a big sea of people, especially when you post on the internet. And everybody's at different, like, stages of the journey. And that's not to say that people who don't want to be professional chefs don't go through the same thing either, or people who want to be professional athletes don't go through the same thing either. Like, how do you know I haven't? Booty wiggle. But it's, I I promise I had a thing. I had a thing I was going with this. And I completely detoured talking. I don't know. Art feels like you have to be perfect, even though even though perfection is arbitrary in art. She distracted by the booty wiggle. Yes. Maybe. But no, I think in a non-long-winded way of saying this is to give yourself room to feel without shame. Especially in art. Because, like, when you make art, you're doing something that's, like, fun for you, right? And unfortunately, no matter what AI tells you, you can't skip corners. Like, you just, like, art is one of those, like, unskippable skills that you have to go through trial and error and tutorials and growth and plateaus and just try to make it work. I also have no more croutons and I'm sad. So what does this look like before I add the other person back in? It started storming out here, and my dogs got scared. Now we're all laying in my bed while they're both shaking. Aw, poor babies. What kind of doggos you got? They are Cairn Terriers. Aw, cute. Oh, so I saw on TikTok that that King of the Hill got like an updated season. And I had watched a little of it like a couple years ago, but I didn't really like get into it. And now that I've seen like the new season, now that I've seen like snippets of the new season, I'm like, okay, well, why don't I try like rewatching it? And just seeing how it is. And so I'm like really weird. It's actually funny. My dad kind of laughs at me about this, but like whenever I start a new show or like TV thing, I have to watch it from like the very first like episode, like even if it's like a sitcom or an anthology series where like each season's, you know, like different, like I had to start from season 1, episode 1, and then go through it, all of it. And my dad's like, well, can't you just use like context clues from like other episodes to find out, you know, like what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that, but a lot of times they have overarching like story and plot, and I like to know like all the small details of like how they got there, why they thought this would work, why they thought that would work, you know, like that kind of thing, because I'm just like weird like that. And and my dad's like, a lot of times I'll fall asleep during shows, but then like your mom will be on like episode like 4 or 5 and I'll know the entire plot just by like a 2 or 3 minute like conversation. I'm like, that's cool. I'm glad. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that you can do that, but like at the same time for me, like I have to know like all the context before I jump into it. King of the Hill is such a good series, and a lot of King of the Hill like audio clips are on TikTok that I didn't realize were from King of the Hill until I started watching the show. And so anyway, so my point being is that I started King of the Hill over from like season 1, episode 1. And it's so cool to see like old school like animation techniques, and you can actually like, back then it might have been a little harder, but nowadays with because of digital animation, you can actually tell when they use like how do I put it? Like, you can tell which bits of the animation are cell shaded, or like cells that they lay over top the background. And to me, it's just really cool. I don't know, I'm a hardcore nerd for like animation, so. But anyways, yeah, no, I started watching like the earlier seasons, and I'm working my way through like 20-ish years of TV. Mike Judge gave us this and Beavis and Butthead. I've never seen Beavis and Butthead. Alright, let's see. So let's take off all the... Oh my god, I love it. So now we get to go back in and color everything. because why not? I hate myself. No, I shouldn't say that. I love animation. I've always loved animation, and I do find comfort in doing animation. It's sort of like how some people find comfort in knitting, where like the tasks are very repetitive. That's kind of what animation feels like to me. Then again, I haven't done anything super complicated with like shadows or anything yet, so... I find it very therapeutic. It's the other reason I like digital painting. Although lately I've been into, I bought some, acrylic markers, and I've been, like, doing, more traditional, like, color and experimentation. I still don't know how to blend. I'm trying to teach myself how to blend with, traditional, like, art mediums. I also may bring back Icar's flea market. I also have shelved Into the Underwood for the time being. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm just gonna color the guys and call it a night. I appreciate everybody who stopped by for stream, though. You did such good work today. I like to think so. I said I was gonna stream, and after putting it off for like a week, I did. I can't remember if I put this off 1 or 2 weeks. I think I only did 1, but I might have done 2. I forget, but somebody said, you know, all anyone's gonna remember, like, when you're successful at the things that you do, is not that you were late, but how great the thing you made was. Or, you know, not everyone may remember, like, when you started, but they remember the things that you, like, come out with. And in a way, that's kind of like comforting, you know? But in another way, like, I did start and I did struggle. And, you know, maybe some days I have more energy to do things than others. Which is actually something else that I find rather interesting. And, like, I came across this lady on TikTok that's about, like, helping you build accountability in, you know, showing up for yourself. Right? Because a lot of time, and what she said, I'll have to find her, I'll have to find her because I want to get, like, I need to sign up to get, like, her free workbook. But, like, the thing that she says is the reason you know, you do stuff like you bed rot or you procrastinate or you, or, you know, you do the things that are, you know, like, comfortable to you and stay within that, like, comfort zone is because, and she says this so much more, like, eloquently than I can, because I'm just kind of, like, paraphrasing based off of what I remember. But it's something like, you don't show up for yourself, and because that's become, like, such a habit, that's what your mind, like, recognizes. Or when you don't fail to perform at, like, peak, or when you don't perform at peak energy, you, like, you shame yourself to the point where, like, it's not, like, your body instinctively doesn't want to continue because it doesn't want to feel, like, that pain. So, like, for example, you know, if the goal is I don't want to eat fast food as much, right? So we'll go back to, like, the cooking example. So, like, if I don't want to eat fast food as much and I want to eat, you know, at home, well, you gotta understand that you're not a robot. Like, you're not always gonna have the energy to cook everything from scratch when you come home. So one way to still keep within the goal, but understand that you have, you know, limits and work within those limits is, you know, yes, so, like, when you're full of energy and you've had a good day, you may want to make, you know, homemade food from scratch, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But then, like, say you have a day where, like, you don't really feel like cooking everything from scratch, so you get, like, an oven meal from, like, the grocery store. Now, granted, you didn't go to get, like, fast food, and you got, you know, like, an oven meal where you could just set a timer for, you know, like, 30 to 40 minutes and dinner, you know, is done. And then on the days where you really don't feel like even doing that, where you only have, like, 5% of energy to give to any one thing, and you may be tempted to go get fast food, well, instead of going to get fast food, go pick up, like, a rotisserie chicken and maybe, like, a thing of mashed potatoes from, like, the deli section. You know, so that way, like, you still keep within your goal that you're not, like, eating out fast food, but you're also not setting yourself up for failure where, you know, if you don't make everything from scratch and cook and that kind of thing, like, you don't, like, you're not making yourself feel bad because you decide that you don't want to cook, right? And that can change your brain chemistry because it's like, okay, we have room for, like, error and room to, like, you know, maybe we don't want to cook every day kind of thing. But it allows you to be human without you wanting to, like, shame yourself for being that way. Or for not living up to the standard of, you know, I'm gonna do this every day, because that's sort of like the pitfall of why maybe, you know, you don't, and I say you, but this also applies to me as well, because I'm very bad about this too. But like, you know, you say you're gonna, or like, I'll say, you know, I'm gonna start, I don't know, going out for walks every day. And I just don't, because I bed rot, or I don't wake up early enough, or that kind of thing. And by doing that, I'm telling, like, because I don't do that, I then go through this shame of, like, I should just do it, I should just get up and go, but then that doesn't make me feel better, and then I kind of, like, stay within that spiral of, well, I shouldn't say that I'm gonna do these things knowing that I'm not going to, you know? Like, you gotta fix the way that you think. And even if, you know, you don't necessarily have the energy to go outside and go walk, you can still, like, walk around the apartment for, like, a little bit, or, you know, maybe you don't feel like putting on... I don't know. I can't get away with going outside without having the girls strapped down, because I got big booba, but, like, I don't know, maybe if you have smaller booba, you could, you know, get away going outside without having a bra on. I don't know, it looks different for everybody. But you gotta change the, like, you can't... God, what was that saying I saw a while ago? You can't hate yourself to get better, or something like that. So, like, you can't shame yourself for failing to do the things that you want to do, or shame yourself for not having the energy to like run at 100% energy capacity all day, every day. You know, because that shit's just not feasible. And this is also maybe just because I wind up on a side of TikTok that's like all about mental health and coping and other things like that. And shit. I had a thought, and then it went away. Oh yeah, mental health. Now granted, this is no substitution to, like, go see a professional or anything, like... If you can afford to, definitely go see, like, a professional mental health person. But I don't know, it's just interesting to me. What is it? Anything worth doing is worth half-assing to start. And then you can always make it better later. The grace you show for others, you need to also show for yourself. Also, I don't know if I had talked about this before, but I'm gonna talk about it now because, you know, why not? We're getting real in the abyss tonight and talking about stuff, but but there's this anime called Frieren Beyond Journey's End, and it's basically about an elf who's like immortal. And she outlives, like, all of her party members. Spoiler warning. But, well, actually, a bit more spoiler warning. There are actually... So, the main character is Frieren, like, obviously, because, you know, show's about her. But there's this other character called Sign. And in season 1, it's actually like a really good anime. Like, some people may complain that the pacing of it's a bit slow, but it's basically an anime about like small moments that make life worth living. And about how, you know, smaller acts of heroism also do just as much good, if not more, than like the larger acts of heroism do. But that's not really what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is when Frieren gets recruited for her party, and when she recruits this other character, Sign, for her party. And one thing that I think is interesting, an interesting parallel for them both, is how when Frieren gets recruited, because she's a mage, she basically tells, like, her would-be party members that, you know, it would make sense for her to go fight the Demon King now, because, you know, she's lived hundreds of years at this point, and if she were going to defeat the Demon King, she should have done it, like, sooner, gotten her revenge, and, you know, this, that, and the other. And the hero, Himmel, is just like, well, you know, you could have done it back then, but you didn't, and that's kind of, like, irrelevant, so let's do it now, and go on a great adventure. And what I think is interesting about this is there's this feeling that, like, and trust me, like, I feel it all the time too, but there's this feeling that when you get older and you don't, like, start doing things, like, let's take a YouTube career, for example. So let's say you want, like, a YouTube or a Twitch career, and, you know, the peak time to do it was when it first started, right? Like, when you're a young, you know, like, 20-something. I don't know, if you're a young 20-something and you're watching this, this might apply to you now, but anyways, but the idea is that, you know, when you're a young 20-something, you're kind of like, oh, well, you know, maybe I should try it and see, like, if I can do it. Or, you know, you get stuck in this, like, a young buck. Yeah, like a young buck, a spring filly, that kind of thing. But, like, at the time, you know, you have so many other things that are going on, you know, like maybe you're in college and you just don't have time between like your workload, or maybe, you know, you're off on your wild feral child era and all you want to do is like go party and, you know, what have you. Or maybe, you know, you're doing something else in your life that that basically pulls you away from having time to like do that, right? And then we'll say like 10 years go by and now you're like a 30-something-year-old. Yeah, we're getting up close and personal tonight. But that aside, but like you're a 30-something-year-old and you're like, you know what? Now's the time. You know, I probably should have started this when I was younger. And, you know, it was still new and I could have gone in and gained like a following and built up everything, you know, back then. But, you know, now that I'm older, you know, now that I'm older or you're older or whoever's older, now it's like, well, you know, you're a bit more out of touch with like the youngins. You don't understand the lingo and that kind of thing. You can still do it now. No, I'm not saying that you can't do it now, but like, it's this idea that like, you feel like you feel like the time that you probably should have done it or should have started has already like gone. You know, especially when you're older, and that's kind of what I'm doing. So like, when I was in my 20s, right, I wanted to do the art thing, but, and I talk about this all the time, I wanted to do the art thing, but I somehow, how do I explain it? I convinced myself that, like, I couldn't do it, if that makes any sense. Like, I had convinced myself that there was no way that I could make it work, that I could be, you know, in like that I could do like an art business or do my dream. And one example, my dad pointed out that and my dad wasn't trying to be mean or anything. Like, my dad was trying to, you know, help me set like realistic examples. And he's like, you know, think about guys that play like football, right? So like when you're in when you do football, stop it, go away. So like when you play football, right? Like, say you start in middle school football and then like half your team gets recruited to high school football, right? And then in high school football, like say a quarter of your team gets recruited to college football. And then say like whatever smaller than like a quarter, say like by the time you get to play professional football, now they only want like, I don't know, the top 5% of like players to do it professionally because they're good at it. They've been training, you know, for their whole lives to do that and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. You know, because when you do professional stuff, they want, you know, like the best of the best or that kind of thing. And I know that doesn't always translate to like other parts of life, but like that's sort of like, but like the idea is that the more, what is it? Like there's more competition like when you get out of, you know, like your hometown, or not necessarily your hometown, but like your own city, where like, you know, maybe on the local level you were not necessarily like the biggest fish in the pond, but you were like a medium fish who did well. And then like as you get out into the world at large, you realize, well, you're not a medium fish, you're actually, you know, like a small fish. Have to get up early tomorrow. Have a great rest of your stream. Have a good night, y'all. Good night, Gordy. Good luck waking up early. And so, where was I? Oh, so anyway, so then, like, it feels like, you know, you probably, like, we're going back to, you know, feeling like it's too late. So, I promise we're taking the scenic route, but we'll get to the same, like, thing. Aw. Thank you for subscribing to Twitch, Gordy. Appreciates you. Appreciates everybody. Don't forget to dig in your butt, twin. But no, like, there are times when I feel like I'm pursuing this in my 30s, and it feels like I should have pursued this when I was in my 20s. And that's kind of how I relate to that, to those specific instances where it comes to Sign and Frieren, because Frieren is like, you know, I feel like it's past the time where I would have, you know, gone up to the Demon King and, you know, fought for vengeance for, like, all my loved ones, like, back then, and I didn't. And with Sign's whole thing, and this is minor spoilers, but, like, Sign's whole thing is Sign's best friend, went off to go be an adventurer and was going to be back in 3 years, and it's been, by the time Frieren and the party come across Sign, it's been, like, 10 years since his friend left and never, you know, came back. And so Sign feels like he's past the point where he could be an adventurer. Remember, J.R.R. Tolkien didn't write Lord of the Rings until he was 45. Right. But, like, I think it was, Vera Wang, I think, didn't start designing dresses until she was in her 40s either. So, like, the main thing is it's never too late to start. It's never too late to decide, you know what, I'm gonna go for my dream, or I'm gonna go for something that I thought I wasn't going to be good at, essentially. Oh, stretch my legs. Interesting. I have my mom's concerned, my family's concerned. They're like, well, you know, logically, how far can you like take this? And it's like, as far as I'm willing to run, I guess. Or willing to try. And trust me, like, you're gonna struggle. Like, hell, I'm struggling with self-doubt, like, all the time doing this, but I'm, somebody once said, you know, be part of the con, right? So like if people are struggling with imposter syndrome, but they're still, you know, out here doing the things that's making them, you know, like money and stuff like that, like have that level of, you know, audacity and confidence. It's funny because I have a friend who's a writer, and I tell her all the time, you know what, if some author had the audacity to make shape-shifting like underwear and cockroaches sexy, I think you got it. You know, I think you can do it and be amazing at it. Sometimes you gotta be a Delulu. You gotta go in your Delulu era. Which, I'm in my Delulu cooking area because I got thin slice like ribeye from I don't know why, but I saw it and I was like, you know what, I could probably make something with this. And I've been staring at it like it's gonna bite me for having the like audacity to dare to cook. Like, you, how dare you decide to cook me? I also got cabbage. I don't know what it is, but lately I've just been craving cabbage. It was funny because I was telling a friend that I was gonna make so I kind of do this dish where it's like ground beef and I'll throw like potatoes and onions in it. Sometimes I put in macaroni in it or rice, and it becomes like its own kind of like those rice-a-roni dishes or like beef-a-roni where, you know, it's kind of like a skillet hash kind of thing. But this time I decided to do it with cabbage, potatoes, and onions. I love onions. I could quite literally eat my weight in onions. But that aside, so I told my friend about this dish I was making, and she was like, "Oh, that sounds, you know, like very Irish, like it's an Irish dish." And I was like, I mean, or Celtic? Some kind of dish like that. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I'm also gonna smother it in cheese and barbecue sauce. And she's like, she went dead silent over the chat, and she's like, I don't think that's very Irish. I'm like, it's Irish with a southern twist. It's just like, you know what? If it tastes good, it tastes good. And I'm like, I mean, hey, if I'm the only one who's eating it, does it really matter? Oh my god, it was so funny. I like to think every time I make something, there's a cookbook somewhere that spontaneously, like, combusts. Although, I'm not... So, surprisingly enough, I forget what that show is called, and I forget where it's hosted. I think it's on, like, Netflix, but it's something called, like, The Worst Cooks in America or something like that. And it was funny because I remember, so I watched the first season, and then like a couple years later, I started seeing clips of it pop up on TikTok. And it was hysterical because there was a guy that was trying to make like his chicken recipe. And he's like, but there's no dishwashers here. And when I first heard that, I was like, what? And apparently this dude, he makes like this like baked chicken dish where he wraps it in like tin foil and he puts it in the dishwasher and the dishwasher cooks it. And it was funny because it's a clip of him and he can't find a dishwasher, so he decides to use the oven as like a secondary appliance, and he's like, I just put it in the oven and hoped for the best. And it's always funny reading the comments under videos like that. And the people were like, oh my god, he thought the oven was the second, like, best option he could pick. It was great. I didn't see the season he was on, but I hope he's doing well. Also, did anyone hear that the mothership is supposed to land in November? Stretch my leg. No, back pillow. Come here. Come back. Speaking of food, I actually need to eat something today. I mean, I had pork chops earlier. Don't mind me, I like to occasionally ramble to myself. Excuse me. I didn't think coloring was gonna take me so long, but then again, I also rambled, like, a lot earlier. Alright. So now let's see what the entire animation looks like. It's so cute! I actually really like how it came out. Alright. Alright, friends, fishlings. That's gonna be it for me tonight. I will be back Monday for, I love when I do cool shit like this. I'll be back Monday for another Crab's Treasure, and then Tuesday we will be painting. Then of course I have Wednesday and Thursday off, and Friday will be more co-op gaming. So I'll have to see who's available for co-op gaming. I'm not raiding into anybody tonight. I'm kind of like, I have low energy right now, and I can't, and I think it's because I took that nap. But I hope everybody has a good whenever. I will see y'all on Monday. Much love.